Hey, Adam,
Jeez,
one
why,
thing.
why do you think they're called bumpers, Gary?
I don't know.
Because they come at the beginning, at the end, like bumpers.
Alex, you're a marketing guy. Do you like that design behind Paul? Does that sweet logo thing look pretty cool to you?
Hey, I forgot to hit the record button.
Yeah, that's really professional, isn't it?
Well, this is a professional podcast.
I met her in a parking lot and was handed 2 little Yorkies. And the only person I knew that knew Yorkies was Paul. So I called Paul and said, Paul.
Sweet Talk is a weekly 20-minute podcast brought to you by the Continuing Education and Workforce Training Division of Idaho State University's College of Technology. Find us on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and SoundCloud, and subscribe today. Now it's time to get started with Sweet Talk.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Sweet Talk, our weekly podcast here at Idaho State University's Continuing Education and Workforce Training. I am Paul Dickey, the co-host of the show. I am the video instruction manager and apprenticeship coordinator here at Sweet. And as always, joining me is our director, Gary Salazar. How are you doing today, Gary?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much for the intro, Paul. It's a great day. This is our Friday before a long weekend, so this is a wonderful day to finish up with a terrific podcast, man. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing fine. Most people who listen know that we record most of these on a Friday because we have so much fun, and it's a great way to end the work week, isn't it, Gary?
Yeah, this is awesome. Yeah, and also joining us, Angela Wilhelm. Angela Wilhelm is our terrific marketing coordinator. Many of you have listened to her before. You see things that she's putting out. Angela, good morning and welcome to Friday. How are you?
I'm doing really well. I'm really excited today. As you may have listened, we had a really, really wonderful podcast with someone from the United Way in mid-May. And today we are lucky to have Wendi Ames. She is the Director of Donor and Community Engagement as the United Way. Welcome, Wendi. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your position at the United Way?
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, you guys. Thank you so much for having me today. So my name is Wendi Ames. I've been the Director of Community Engagement, Donor and Community Engagement for probably the last 3 or 4 years. Prior to that, I was a Resource Development Manager. And we changed my title, not so much because, I moved up, but more so people would have lunch with me.
Oh, so Wendi, what is a resource development manager?
Well, it depends on what you mean when you say resource, but in the United Way world, resource development is really fund development. It's money. It's creating resources for the organization and for us to be able to fulfill our mission.
Oh, okay.
And
cool. Is that still what you're doing now?
It is. And so about 90% of my job here at United Way is fundraising. So I raise money for our United Way's annual grant process. And then the other piece of my job, which kind of all folds in together, I feel like I'm a better friend raiser than I am a fundraiser. It all moves in together, And so really the other part of that is really just engaging our community in the work that our directors are doing. Like when you talked to Tanil a few weeks ago and engaging our community and really helping people understand what it is that United Way does. When I first heard of United Way, I knew United Way did great things, but I didn't really know what it was. And, and 5 years later, I just feel like it has been such a great opportunity to help community members just live financially stable lives and really build partnerships in our community to bring everyone in to be part of that mission.
Now, you said earlier that you fundraise for grant funds. Could you tell me a little more about that?
Yeah, let me tell you about that. So, gosh, a long time ago, United Ways were really built upon this concept of a community chest. And that it started in Denver. Really, the railroad stopped in Denver. And so what happened is people were all of a sudden, they didn't have jobs because the railroad wasn't going anymore. And so there was 3 people, and I may get this wrong, so excuse me if I do, but there was a priest, and a lady, and another guy, and they all walk into a bar. But really what it was is that there was these 3 people, they come together and they said, you know what, we've got to do something. We have to help these people. And so they started going around town and raising money to help people that were working or not working and trying to really just make ends meet. And so that's really the story of how United Ways were made. And then in about 62 years ago or so, United Way came to southeastern Idaho. And so our organization is a little over 60 years old.
Oh, wow.
And it was really founded on the process of raising money to help families and to help individuals really become more financially stable, more well-educated, as well as be healthier. And really we've created a lot of momentum in our mission over the last 5 years. But that grant process is really what brings everyone together every year.
So you're raising funds to distribute grant funds? Is that what?
Yeah.
So
let me
please.
Yeah.
let me tell you a little bit about that, Paul. So what I do is I go to places like Simplot, out at the INL, also Costco and Walmart and ICCU and Citizens Community Bank, and I help tell the stories of small nonprofits in our region. So currently our grants help fund 26 nonprofit programs in our region. And what's so wonderful about that is every employee and individual dollar, 100% of that goes directly into these programs. And this last year, we were able to give out $327,350 in grants across 26 local nonprofits.
Good job.
Wow.
Thank you.
So these nonprofits, would any of them we be familiar with, or are they local? Are they local nonprofits? Are they larger nonprofits?
Sure. They're all local nonprofits. And so when you look at, and you can see these at our website, you guys, at unitedwaysei.org. But if you look at the website, you will notice things like SICA, the Veterans Program. We help fund that, as well as CASA and Bright Tomorrows and Bannock Youth Foundation, Aid for Friends, just to name a few. And the nice thing about United Way grants is it fills the gaps where maybe some traditional grants wouldn't be able to cover. I have a really cool example for you. In Malad, there is a crisis center called Oneida Crisis Center. And that is typically a domestic violence and sexual assault center up there in the Malad area. Well, about a few years ago, their only food pantry on top of Malad had pulled out. And what they did with the United Way grant is they created Carol's Pantry. And Carol's Pantry was able to help with food insecurity in that area, because as a domestic violence center, they're not able to get government grants to be able to help their community other than in that niche. And so the nice thing about United Way grants is we're able to help fill those gaps that maybe some of our nonprofits are finding funding for.
Well, that is so cool. Wendi, when you say filling the gaps, I kind of take that as a one-time event, or maybe a couple times. Is it a repeating every year kind of a gap? Do you make a distinction?
Well, and Gary, that just kind of depends. And I think that normally with a United Way grant, so Carol's Pantry began off of a United Way grant, but then came more substantial, more financially stable on their own. And so now we help fund still Oneida Crisis Center, but maybe they wrote their grant for something different. And so they're able to really bend and move and fill what their needs are every year. So they apply for grants in December. Our nonprofits do. And then after they apply for the grant, we have community members. This last year, we had 36 community members on our community investment panel. And this is a process that anyone can be part of. And it runs a couple of months, and you just go a couple of weeks and you review the applications as a community member. You go and do a site visit where you can see what's going on in these amazing organizations in four little walls and how they're helping people in our community. And then they make the recommendation to our board based on how much money we were able to raise to fulfill those needs in our community.
Sure. So is it the board then that makes the decision on where the grant money goes?
They approve it, but it's actually the community panel, the
Okay.
community investment panel that makes those decisions.
Well, awesome. What a great tool for not just locally, but regionally. You said all the way down to Malad, so that's a fairly large part of southeastern Idaho. How far do you? What is the region for United Way southeastern Idaho?
Absolutely. So we actually are in 7 counties, and that really stems from the Shelley area right into American Falls, where Tennille does a lot of her work. And then we also have funded programs in Soda Springs as well, but we go as far as Bear Lake. So Bear Lake to Shelley, and then over into Howard County and Bingham County is where we really try and focus our efforts.
Oh, that's cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
Go ahead.
okay. So my question is, so what happens is all of these companies like Costco and Simplot would donate money, you would get those donations, and then those donations are what funds the grants themselves.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And so the neat thing about it is those dollars come from employees through a payroll donation. And so whether it's a $5 payroll donation, a $10 payroll donation, a $20 or $60 payroll donation, those add up. I was going to say those babies add up. So they add up so quickly. And so when you think about $5 a paycheck or donating an hour, maybe, you make $16 or $17 an hour, you donate that $17 1 hour per paycheck. And that this year totaled that $327,000 that went out in grants. And it's just an amazing opportunity for our whole community to be involved in helping working families. At United Way, our purpose is really, not to just fill the gaps in the organizations that we're serving, but also that mission is to fill the gaps where our Alice families work. And so I don't know if your listeners have heard of Alice.
No, I have not.
Oh my gosh, Paul, I'm so excited to tell you all about Alice. All about Alice. So Alice is an acronym for a report that's done locally. It's called Asset Limited, Income Constrained, but Employed. So these are the people in our community that live above the federal poverty line. So they're not receiving government benefits, but below the ability to actually make it month to month.
Oh.
And maybe a $400 expense is enough to put them into a financial ruin. And so I think when we're thinking about currently the federal poverty level is right around $27,000 for a family of 4. So if you make $28,000 as a family of 4, the government says, go live life, right? You're doing so well, go live life. But what has happened over the last few years, with inflation, right. and that Alice report really breaks down what it takes to live in southeastern Idaho. And currently, this is astounding, you guys, it's a little over $80,000 for a family of 4 with 2 kids in daycare.
Wow.
When you're looking at how much rent costs, how much does groceries cost right now currently? I mean, I go to the grocery store now and get $100 in groceries, and I might get 4 bags. Might depend where you shop. And even 4 years ago, we go to the grocery store for $100. Your cart's a little bit fuller. And what we are trying to do is really help the nonprofits that are focusing on those families that are just not quite making enough, and making hard decisions. Whether do we pay the rent? Do we put food in the fridge? Do we put new tires on the car? And not doing one of those things creates just this swirl and this impact.
So a question pops in my head then, Wendi, are you like, is that exactly what you're doing? Giving them funds for an emergency cost that they can't cover right now? Or is that something that a family might get funds continuously for a period of time? How is those funds distributed?
Yeah, absolutely. So basically the nonprofits that apply for grants through us are the ones that do the direct service. So at United Way, we fund the organizations that are really helping those families. So whether it's SECA and their weatherization and financial stability programs, whether it's Aid for Friends, and they're helping people get back into housing and really maybe pay an extra month of rent for them, or what that looks like. And so lots and lots of people are using services that they've never had to use before, you know,
Okay.
and that I think has taken a toll on almost half. The statistics are almost half of southeastern Idaho is going through that right now.
So I have a question about the Alice families as well. For those who may not be as in the know about that $27,000, is that household income per person, and is that net or gross?
Right. So that's the federal poverty level, and I believe that it's gross, and it's a gross amount for a family of 4. So
and that is the household income, correct?
The household income. Yes.
Okay. So go back with what you do, the fundraising portion. So you're going to companies to get funds for. You're getting
Sorry about that, guys.
Okay.
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry, I wasn't expecting company today.
Yeah. So when you fundraise, you're going to companies to see if they'll donate to United Way so that you can help these other nonprofits. So, but do you also take personal donations as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So like I said, United Way was really built on that corporate kind of giving style. But individual giving is part of United Way as well. The nice thing about our United Way is that you can actually give to any nonprofit and any individual can give any amount. And so let's say, Paul, something you're maybe not, I don't know if you're from Pocatello or from our area, but maybe back home, an organization really helped your sister or your grandma. You can say, hey, Wendi, I want my money to go to this organization because this really touched my heart. And so I think that that's the most amazing thing about United Way. Yes, you can give to the community fund, and that funds our grants, but you can also give where your heart is as well.
Okay, so say I had a wallet full of money and I came to your office. So Wendi, I'd like to donate, but what organizations do you? Do you have like a list that I could go, oh, I'd like to have my funds go to this one then?
Yes, that absolutely does happen. We do have a list of the organizations that we fund. And that is also on our website. You can look at those as well. And that will show you all of the 26 different programs that are currently funded by the United Way.
Cool.
Now,
very cool.
Now, you said there's an application process for these nonprofits. So do you have new nonprofits apply every year? And then you'll have to say no, I guess, each year to some of them. How does that handle?
So tough. It's so tough. So at United Way, we have health, education, and financial stability are our pillars. And so as long as the organization fits into those categories, they normally go on to the second round of the grant process. And then after the grant's written, there has been a couple of times when our panelists had to make the really hard decisions and say, you know, we love your vision, we love what's going on here, but we as a community can't see that the things are in place to create the most out of that money. You know, I think as community members and donors, we work really hard for our money and we trust that the money's doing what it says it needs to do. And sometimes not all organizations make that cut, unfortunately. And it's really hard because organizations work so hard The most wonderful part about actually obtaining the grant, though, is that when they apply for other grants, they can check a box that says, I've been funded by my local United Way. And that not only means that United Way believes in them, but it also means that their community believes in them and sees results. And they're able to obtain more grants because they've been funded by United Way, which is so neat.
That's a great
And allows
endorsement.
them to create more opportunities to serve
Mhm,
families in our
mhm.
community.
Yeah.
So Wendy, have you seen like a nonprofit in the area grow because of your assistance, that they were able then to help a larger portion of the community?
Oh my gosh, Paul, I just got goosebumps because I have so many amazing stories. But really the one that sticks out in my mind the most currently is the Pocatello Free Clinic. So there's been a few grants that we've helped them with that have been able to, one, start the dental program. And right now oral health is so needed in our community. And they were able to actually expand that to also help Medicaid patients, because normally the Pocatello Free Clinic only helps people without Medicaid and without health insurance. But currently, they're able to also expand their dental program to help people with Medicaid, because there's not enough dentists with enough time to help patients with Medicaid. And we all know that dental health is so very important. We were also able to help them start a mobile clinic when it first came out a few years ago, and they're actually going to American Falls as well. When you take clinics to people, you break down so many transportation barriers.
Mhm.
And then another grant that we've been able to help them, and this is throughout the years, was with their counseling and mental health program. And we've seen mental health as an issue first, and it's risen, and the mental health portion of the Pocatello Free Clinic, we were able to fund the person that's able to give those services out. And so funding a person and funding a salary isn't something that normally grants do, but at United Way, it's filling those gaps like we talked about before.
That's a great story, Wendy. What a great story for Pocatello Free Clinic and how that has grown and spread out. Paul, sorry, man, but we are getting close, and we got to
I-
give her an opportunity to
I
say. We got to give her the opportunity to say.
I got one more. I got one more question. I got one more question, Gary. And I think
What
this
is your question, man?
So, are there any events that you have during the course of the year to create more awareness of United Way and their needs?
I'm so glad you asked that question, Paul.
See, Gary, I told you it was important.
On June 21st, we are doing our first annual Day of Action, and that is a worldwide United Way Day of Volunteerism. You can go to our website and see where those opportunities are, but that's an opportunity for community members to get into those organizations, do some volunteer work for them, and really learn a little bit more about how our nonprofits are really doing some amazing things in their four walls to stabilize our community.
Excellent. Great
that's
last
excellent.
question, Paul. Well done. It's
See,
like you queued her up. Awesome. Hey, Wendy, we are really at the end here, but we didn't give you the opportunity to let people know if they wanted to reach out to you or the United Way, what might be the best way for them to contact you. Would you mind telling everybody what's the favored way to do that?
Yeah, so probably email is the easiest. My email is Wendi with an I, that's WENDI, at unitedwaysei.org. You can give the office a call or just swing in. We're right downtown on Main Street in Pocatello. We love visitors, and we are happy to chat always.
Oh, how cool. Thank you for
Excellent.
doing that. Hey, Paul and Angela, we reached the end of our podcast once again. There are so many good questions yet to ask, Paul, but we're going to start having to wrap this one up. Wendy from the United Way, who started out with a story of three people. What was it? It was a priest, a lady, and some other guy in
Yeah.
Denver with the railroad wanting to help others, and look at what it's turned into 60 years later, and help here in our Pocatello community and our region here in southeastern Idaho. What a great job. you are in. What a fantastic opportunity to share that. And thank you for coming on to our podcast and telling us a couple of great stories and what you do. Wonderful organization. Paul, I think you need to bookend this one and wrap it
Yes.
up.
Yes. Wendi, again, thank you so much for being on today. It was a pleasure. But if you guys want to visit our website and check out the offerings that we have, please visit the website at cetrain.isu.edu. You can give us a call as well. It's 208-282-3372, or send us an email at cetrain@isu.edu. And if you like this podcast, please like, subscribe, share. You know the drill. Please, we'd like to spread our word and spread the enjoyment, because I get a lot of joy out of this, and I like to see other people get joy out of this.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you, Paul. Angela, thank you very much for joining us again. Wendi, thank you, everybody. This is the end of our podcast. You all have a great Memorial Day weekend and be safe out there.